the judiciary in India has fiercely protected its independence, and we've had political attacks on the judiciary. The latest judgment, and so you had also been a part of that, the NJAC, which makes a distinction now between the independence of the judiciary and the Bangalore principles on misconduct. Do you believe that misconduct can be used as a tool to be an attack on the judiciary? And if so, does the Supreme Court need to do something as an in-house procedure for itself, which balances the rights of the people on the one hand, and as well as protect the judiciary from those attacks? And if so, what can that procedure be? So it's a longish question. So
Yes, you're the best person to answer. I'm glad you're answering it.
Let me begin by saying that the independence of the judiciary is not a concept which is meant to insulate the judiciary from being accountable. And by accountable, I don't mean in terms of your accountability to an electorate, as the executive is answerable to the electorate. I mean, an elected government in a parliamentary form of democracy is ultimately answerable to parliament and through it to people. The judiciary, by its very nature, does not have a majoritarian impulse. So when I speak of accountability, it's not accountability in that sense. So when you talk of judicial independence, the idea is not to insulate the judiciary from, in that sense, not abiding by rules of ethical behavior, but to insulate the judiciary from wanton attacks on its own institutional integrity, should I say, as a judicial system. The problem today that I see is this: they're twofold. The attacks on the judiciary, which can really undermine not just the independence as well as but the confidence of the judiciary, is just out of the technology of the age in which we live. Almost any order, any judgment that the court delivers today is a subject matter of comment on social media. And you have 10,000 different citizen journalists who are entitled to say what they want to say, who do not have the restraints of mainstream media, be it electronic or print. And there's no response, there's no platform on which the judge can respond when you hear or see what is dished out in the social media. So in the name of securing the accountability of the court, it's important to understand that you need to trust your judges and you need to trust your courts. Because if that element of trust towards the judges and the courts disappears, then I think there's a serious problem you have in the democratic setup itself. Now, insofar as judicial accountability is concerned, I think we need to have a system which is more nuanced than what we have today. Because our constitution today basically speaks of two possibilities. One is to impeach a judge for wrongful behavior, and the second, which is what is usually exercised when you have a difficulty with a judge, the only other option is to transfer that judge. Now, impeachment is not necessarily an answer in every situation that you can think of in terms of judicial misdemeanor. Similarly, transferring a judge is no solution to a judge who has a problem in the place where she or he is posted. So we need to devise, we have the in-house procedure, for instance, where allegations against a judge are scrutinized at the first level by an in-house committee consisting of judges themselves. But I think we need to have a more nuanced, a more balanced procedure where perhaps we also demand some degree of accountability in terms of the extent of work the judges do, not the outcomes of their decision making, which has to be ultimately left to the court, to the judge herself, but some measure of accountability in terms of assessing the product which is coming out of every court, the amount of judicial time that is being devoted to cases, the number of adjournments which are granted. And this is not just because judges grant adjournment, this is also because the bar is almost, sometimes expects that it's a legitimate demand that you must adjourn cases. As you go down to the district courts and the lowest courts in the system, that's even more so. You have a threat of a strike if a case is not adjourned. So I think, the problem of the balance between the Bangalore principles on the one hand and of seeking accountability is not so much a simplistic sort of issue of bringing the judges to book, as I think it is of a wider dialogue within society of what is it that ails the system, and then how do you really find answers within the system, perhaps with a change in legislation, but even more so by developing principles within the judiciary to find solutions to the issues which we face.
I think that was very good. I personally feel that the questions have to be taken at the Supreme Court level, the High Court level, and the lower court levels. And maybe one solution could be some kind of a permanent committee of very eminent retired judges, say a panel of 8 or 10 there in the committee, and for any inquiry you can take 3 out of those people, and then the complaint can be referred to them and they can make a recommendation to the Chief Justice or the concerned person. But right now there is no such established mechanism, and I think it's a matter of time before it has to come, because as you rightly put it, because of the media, because of any kind of reporting going on and so on and so forth. And what's worse is the rumors which are not answered, and that makes it worse, you see, because like sunlight is supposed to be the best input. Once there's an independent inquiry, people know what's happened and that settles the matter. You also have a huge, must have a huge protection for frivolous, useless complaint, which Tamil Nadu is famous for what they call the blank petitions. So this has to be really taken up, because we are now 1100 High Court judges, at least the sanctions judge. There has to be some kind of a mechanism which will deal with this particular thing. And because what's worse is the judge is most vulnerable. There's no way he can respond to it, you see. Some allegations are made, there's no way he can't go to the media, he can't go to the press. Somebody has to protect the system also.